Well, my name is Walter Schwarz. I was born in Timisoara, Romania. Mm-hmm. The immigration from Romania was on a quota system. That means that they only allowed a certain number of citizens to emigrate to the United States. But the fact that my mother had been brought up here and she spoke perfect English, for that reason the consulate, the U.S. State Department allowed her to bring her family over outside of the quota system. So that was the reason for our escape from Romania. A famous textile trade school was located in Brno, which was the capital of Moravia, which was part of Czechoslovakia at that time. And there are many Jews who attended that school because many of the Jews were in the textile business in Central Europe. I was in Brno on March 15th, 1938, which was the day when German troops invaded Czechoslovakia. This was 1 year after the Austrian Anschluss, and but this was not the outbreak of war, because the war broke out 1 year later in Poland. So I was there on the day that German troops occupied all of Czechoslovakia, including the city of Brno. I witnessed how they occupied all the important buildings, the city hall, the telephone and telegraph office, and other city offices, and they posted German sentries in there, and the sentries would keep everybody out except the people who had business there. So on that day, I went to school like it was a Tuesday, and it was a school day, and I had no reason not to go to school. I went towards a textile school, which was on Francoska ulice. That means on French Street. And as I walked towards the entrance of the school, I happened to be walking alone. I saw a whole bunch of young people with swastika armbands on their left arm, and they saw me coming, and right away they said, "Juden raus, no Jews allowed in the school anymore." So I had no reason to argue with them, and I was in no position to argue with them. So I left. My parents were frantically making an effort to escape, because they saw what was happening. They saw that Czechoslovakia was the country adjoining Romania, and they said, if Czechoslovakia falls under Nazi domination, of course Romania would be next. And they were right. So they made an effort, a strong effort to leave the country, and it took about a year, but it was successful. In March of 1939, we boarded the train for our we had a passage to New York on the luxury liner Conte di Savoia from Genoa, Italy to New York. We boarded that ship in March of 1939. 39, right? And we found that the ship was loaded with refugees from all over Europe. And this happened to be the very last refugee ship that left Italy for New York. In New York, as soon as I was able to get around, I visited the Army recruiting stations. I wanted to enlist in the Army to. I saw that the war was coming, and I wanted to be on the side that opposed the Nazi Germany. So I tried to enlist, but I was not a citizen of the United States, and they said no foreigners allowed. So I found a job in a silk mill in Columbia, Pennsylvania, and they hired me, and I was there for about 1 year, and within that year, then in December of that year, Pearl Harbor happened, and the draft started right immediately after that, in 1942, and I was of draft age, and even though I wasn't a citizen, they drafted me anyway. At that time they took anybody. It was in 1943 when my company commander called me into his office and said, "Go pack your duffel bag. You're being shipped out." And I was afraid that I was being punished for something. What did I do? You know? And I was a pretty good soldier, I thought. And I said, "No, don't worry. You're not being punished. You're shipping somewhere where they need you, and I can't tell you where it is, but you'll find out. Tomorrow morning you'll be there." So I packed my duffel bag and I threw it into a truck, and the truck picked me up, and they took me that night. They took me to Camp Richie in Maryland, and I found out that was the Military Intelligence Training Center, MITC. I came from an MRTC, Medical Replacement Training Center, to a Military Intelligence Training Center. They taught us in military training, and first they picked only people who spoke a fluent German. And so I noticed everybody in that camp spoke German. They had to speak English too, of course. We learned how to interrogate prisoners of war. That was the main job for the Camp Richie Training Center. From Camp Richie to an embarkation point in New York, and from there we sailed to Scapa Flow in Scotland, where we landed, and our unit was sent down to Birmingham to additional training, Birmingham, England, and there. This was already after D-Day. D-Day was in June of 1944, and this was in in September of 1944. Saar was the border between Germany and France. When I reached the Saar, whoever this was in December of 1944, and that's when the serious war started. That's when Nazi Germany did their counterattack in the Battle of the Bulge, and of course our unit was sent up to the Bulge to help in the counterattack. By the time we reached the Ruhr territory in Germany, by that time there was a massive surrender by the German army. So at that time it was no longer a war. We were capturing a lot of Nazis then, So we were on the verge of winning the war. So still in Normandy, whenever they captured a German, then they sent him to me to be interrogated, and so I did some of that work. In May or in April of 1944, that was before Germany surrendered, I was shipped to Czechoslovakia, back to the same country where I was chased out before, 4 years before that, Right. So this time I went in as a victor. I was chasing the Nazis then, so I guess which was the more pleasant experience. The Geneva Convention requires him to give his name, rank, and serial number. That's all he has to do. He doesn't have to answer any other questions,
Mm-hmm.
And the Nazis took advantage of that. And they didn't answer questions, something. But I had a way of. I offered them a cup of coffee, and they were starving anyway. And I offered them a meal if they cooperate,
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases they did cooperate. One of the prisoners was sassy, did not want to cooperate, and he in fact he said something that was and the interrogator went over and slapped him, and that quieted him down. He didn't bother us anymore, But that's the only time where I saw. That's not torture. I mean, he wasn't tortured, but he slapped him in the face. That's the only violence I saw on the part of the interrogators against the prisoners. We had a Russian soldier came into our camp and I don't know how he got there. I myself think he was deserted from the Russian army. He went through the German forces and came to the Americans to surrender. A Russian surrendered to us,
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, I myself thought, we could take advantage of this Russian, The Germans are very afraid of the Russians, And I said, why don't we, we gave him he was in a Russian uniform that was recognized by everybody. It was a Russian uniform. We gave him an American helmet, and we painted a red star on the helmet, the Soviet star,
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we thought we would use him whenever we find a prisoner who does not want to cooperate, we'll send. If you don't cooperate, I'll send you to that guy there, and they were afraid of him, you know. So they cooperated, you know. They didn't want to be sent to the Russians. Because it was rumored, I don't know whether this was true or not, that the Russians didn't take in any prisoners. They shot them, you know.
All right, let's see how you can manage to see the painting coming up. Because I want you in the record as well to come and see the painting.
You want to shut that off now?
I'll put in, yeah, it's still on recording, so, but you can say anything you want.
Oh.
But it would be nice that it would be on
record.
record.
I see. Oh, I have to get up.
Be careful not to move the camera.
Oh. Wow. Gee, that's amazing. It's like a photograph, you know. Thank you.
No, thank you, Walter. Thank you. I'm sorry to exhausted you so much. I know that was, coming so as a sudden.
And that was a
surprise.
That was. I mean, you did it so fast.